Start of a new week, really going into week number 2, 4 weeks prior to opening game. And coming out of last week, really felt good at where we're at right now and the situations that we've gone through and the installation that we've got in. Great in the tape the other day. Defensively, 2 kids really stood out. I thought Chino Wosu and Connor Murphy really stood out at the defensive front position. And then offensively, going back and watching the big kids, how they're functioning, both the 1s and the 2s. Impressive for their first time out as far as communication, lack of not a lot of mental bust, and really a physicality that they brought to the game, run game wise. We commended them in our team meeting. Today came out, had a light practice. This will be a typical Monday for us where we get about 50 minutes to an hour's worth of work, plus get the opportunity to work with our young kids afterwards, and then worked our 2-minute situation prior to half. The 2-minute game has been so valuable for us over the last year. It's a situational mastery that you have to have it in your toolbox, and I thought the kids functioned very well with it today. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Is there a timetable for Daniel Monterverde?
Yeah, I'm really hoping by the mock game week is what we're shooting for. It could be earlier, but that's what he and I have talked about. Where he's at right now, he's starting to get, as you can see over in Muscle Beach, starting to do that with no pain, which is a good sign. We'll get him running and changing direction. Just don't want to go back full speed with an injury that's kind of big nagging. We want him healthy, so if we can get him back by mock game week, about 2 weeks out, that would be ideal. If we can get him a little bit sooner, it would be perfect.
Coach, a little follow-up to the tight end question. A lot of talent, but a lot of guys banged up as well. Your overall assessment of talent versus banged up?
Yeah, no question. Well, it's given a couple of the younger kids like Aaron Cromenhoek valuable reps, which are needed. Kerry Angela, coming off a redshirt year. That's the good news. The bad news is the vets. We got to get back out here, and that's Daniel and Tyler, coming off a concussion protocol. Daniel with a little bit of a hip flexor, and the good news we got with the other day, Josh, on film, it was an ugly hip, and to come out of there structurally really good. We're thankful for that. So I'm hoping to have them all back by mock game week. That's the goal, and it looks like we're on pace for that, and that'll give us 2 weeks prior to game day.
What have you thought of Chris Brown at left guard?
Doing a nice job, and I tell you, Roy's pushing them really well too. So both those 2 kids, I think we've got tremendous depth right there at that left guard position. Would not have an issue with any of those 2 kids playing in a ball game right now. I think they're ready to go. Chris is doing a nice job. I'm always hard on him. Any guy that's been playing for 2 years, I put him up here and expect a lot of them. So I know Neil is pushing him really hard to be a perfectionist, and he's got Roy right behind him pushing him. So I think that's a good situation at that position.
What about Clayton at left?
Clayton's doing a nice job at left. First time to get really valuable reps. Sharing with Toa, and we'll see who's the best for us in the moment right there. But for a kid from where he was last year to now, has really invested a lot in himself, has put good weight on, really gotten in his playbook, and you see his athleticism for the position. He's a natural at it, so it's good to see his progression over the last year.
What's he weighing?
I think he's right under 300 right now. I think he started right at about 300 pounds, right at the prior to camp, but I think he's lost a couple pounds since we got started.
Can one of the freshmen make a legitimate push to get into that five? Is there enough time?
With those freshmen, a lot of times you look at maybe not the first game, but you really hope by the Cal game that they're making by that 4th game, hoping they're making a great contribution for you. I've talked about the 2 that have stood out to me thus far has been Austin Jackson and Andrew Voorhees. Andrew's had an extra camp, and they've done not only valuable reps but very impressive reps for their age. Those 2 are kind of ahead of the game right now in my mind.
It seems Matt Fink's gotten a few of the second team offensive reps after Sam. What's your assessment of how he's doing versus Jack Sears and that competition?
You can tell Matt is comfortable. This is his 1, 2, 3, 4th camp, and you're starting to see signs of, one being more comfortable. the ball's coming out quicker. He's making decisive decisions on time, and the accuracy has improved a bunch. So I like where his progression has gone. Jack is competing with him each and every day. We'll see where we're at, after 18 practices and decide where we go. But I'm proud of Matt. He's come a long way going into his second training camp.
How does the fact that Jack still has a redshirt year and obviously Matt's used his impact that decision to be who's going to be the back end?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fibbing to you if it doesn't enter your mind. Anytime that you have a kid with a redshirt year, you have to make that decision. I think in the moment and who can help your team the most, you've got to decide on. But Jack doesn't have to be the starter right now. Sam Darnold is the starter, so he's really competing with Matt for that two position right now, and we'll see where he is after another week and a half and make a decision. But it's good to have that red shirt year in the bank if we need it.
How big a difference does it when you're evaluating quarterbacks who's been on campus for a year versus first time? Is that year a big deal?
Yeah, it's a huge deal because you're talking about a pro-style system. I mean, you're walking up there having to declare a mic, having to see safety rotation, maybe having to re-mic, maybe having to make a decision from one play to another based on front, based on coverage, and you got 40 seconds to get all that done. You have to have 5 progression reads, full field reads. You have to make sure that everybody's lined up right, all the motions are right. So that's a lot on a young quarterback, especially in a pro-style system, and sometimes it takes time to be able to do that. But I commend Jack. He's further along in the process than I thought he would be, and really has picked things up nice.
Is there a point in fall camp where we might see Austin Jackson and Voorhees go up against some of the first?
Oh yeah, no question. We'll push them up there and see what they're made of. And the one-on-one pass rush has been really fun because a lot of times it's not ones-on-one. Sometimes it's 2-on-1s, and to see those two guys go up against a Porter or a Chinna, and to see them be able to function and compete has been very nice to see as a head coach. They are truly two talented individuals that have a bright future.
When you vote in the coaches poll, how long does it take you to kind of go through a list of teams and figure out who you want to vote for?
Well, it's easier in the off season because you get to study. Usually in season you have to do it fairly quickly. A lot of times it's coming back on a plane on a away trip and trying to find out the scores and make decisions. But we have to have that thing in by Monday. So you got to take the time Sunday to study what has happened, where they are in the past. Off season's a lot easier. In season, it's a hurried process.
How about off season? What's your go-to guide for these other teams? What informs you?
Usually Google. I usually look up teams. I like to read, and I like reading up on other teams and seeing what they are, seeing what they're doing, see if there's one or two things that we can pirate that can make us a better team. But you're also learning about teams and learning about their depth, who lost who's got who back, and just. A lot of these teams we study in the off season, offensively and defensively, so that helps too. It's just so much an easier process now compared to the season.
Does it change your perception of any teams once you go through that from before you even fill out the ballot? Like you start looking at them and thinking, well, this team might be better than I thought they're going to be.
Oh yeah, nobody's perfect. The only thing that ends up mattering is that committee making their selections in the playoff. That's the final judgment. We all try to do our best and put the people in the right spot. But yeah, I've messed up plenty over the last year. So.
I'll tell you more about your own, when you're going to fill out your first ballot. Maybe you learn things before you even fill it out that you didn't know.